The wind swept across the frozen lake in long shivering breaths, rattling the reeds at its edge. Malik pulled his scarf tighter and shifted the fishing pole in his mittened hands. The ice stretched endlessly in every direction, a white desert under a pale, bruised sky. He'd come out here for solitude, for the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones and clears your head. But the quiet today wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, pressing, like something holding its breath. He tested the ice beneath his boots. It felt solid enough, but the early spring sun had been warming the surface all week. His grandfather's voice echoed in his head, "Ice doesn't break all at once. It warns you if you're listening." A faint crrrk whispered under him. He froze. Looked down. At first he saw nothing, just the faint frosty glaze and the deep blue shadows beneath. Then he saw it, a thin line, almost delicate, like a spiderweb etched in glass, running out from under his right boot. Another crrrk. Louder this time. Malik's pulse thundered in his ears. He tried to step back, slow and deliberate, but the line beneath his boot splintered outward like lightning. The sound was sharp now, the ice groaning in protest. The fishing pole slipped from his hands and clattered across the ice. Instinct told him to run. His grandfather's warning told him not to. His legs trembled, his breath came fast. Then the lake gave way. There was no time to scream. One moment he was standing on the frozen skin of the world, the next he was plunging into a black, breath-stealing void. The water's claws closed around him, yanking him down. Somewhere above, the pale sky shattered into shards of light, and vanished. The cold wasn't just cold, it was alive. It wrapped around Malik like a living thing, crushing the air from his lungs, squeezing his chest until every muscle screamed. His eyes flew open, but all he saw was a storm of bubbles and dark green water. His body fought to rise, but the heavy winter clothes dragged him down like an anchor. His boots felt glued to the lake's belly. Panic clawed up his throat. The hole, where was the hole? Light flickered above him, fractured by the ice. He kicked hard, lungs burning. His gloves scraped against something smooth and unyielding, the underside of the ice. He drifted away from the break. The water roared in his ears, but beneath it, there was something else, a muffled rhythmic thump. Like heavy paws hitting ice. Through the haze, a shape appeared above. Broad, hulking, moving with strange urgency. Malik blinked, his brain sluggish from the cold. Was that a bear? It was impossible, but the shadow loomed closer. Claws raked at the ice above him, scattering shards into the water. The pounding grew frantic. Malik's vision began to tunnel. His chest convulsed, begging him to inhale. The darkness at the edge of his sight thickened, swallowing the frantic movements above. Then a rush of bubbles, a burst of light, something crashed through the ice. Water surged around him as a paw, massive and dark, swept toward his flailing arm. It didn't grab him, just pushed, a violent shove that sent him drifting toward the opening. He broke the surface with a gasp that was half a scream. Air tore into his lungs like fire. Behind him, the bear stood on the shattered edge, steam curling from its muzzle, its eyes locked on him. It didn't move. It just watched. Malik's arms felt like stone as he clawed his way toward the bank, the icy water dragging at his legs with every stroke. He wanted to collapse the moment his boots hit the shallow silt, but some raw instinct screamed, "Move." The bear was still there. He could feel it before he saw it, the sound of claws crunching through ice, the heavy breath that misted into the winter air. Malik staggered onto the shore, slipping on the frozen mud, his soaked clothes clinging like a second skin. He turned, expecting the bear to stay by the hole. But it hadn't. It was coming. Slowly, deliberately, its head low, shoulders rolling in a predatory rhythm. Malik's heart lurched. Every childhood warning about bears, "Don't run, don't turn your back, make yourself big," flashed through his mind, but his frozen limbs barely obeyed. The shore was no salvation. The lake's edge gave way to a sparse forest, brittle pines and skeletal birches standing in rows like silent witnesses. Snow lay in thin patches, broken by stretches of dark earth and rocks slick with frost. Every sound, his breath, the bear's steps, the distant groan of ice, felt amplified in the cold air. He stumbled between the trees, glancing back every few steps. The bear wasn't charging. It wasn't even rushing. But it was following, its massive paws making almost no sound on the frozen ground. The air felt heavier here, as if the forest itself held its breath. Malik's boots sank into a patch of slush, slowing him down, and the bear closed the distance. Then, a sound. Not from the bear. From somewhere deeper in the trees. Low guttural, like a growl but not quite. Malik froze, his eyes darting toward the noise. The bear stopped too. Its ears twitched, its gaze shifting toward the shadowed undergrowth. That was when Malik realized the bear wasn't following him. The growl came again, deeper this time, vibrating through the cold air like a warning. Malik's breath formed clouds in front of him as he turned his head toward the shadows between the pines. The bear's massive frame shifted, its head angling in the same direction. It wasn't looking at Malik anymore. Its ears were forward, nostrils flaring, muscles taut beneath its thick winter coat. Something was out there. The forest was strangely dim, the overcast sky filtering only scraps of light through the needles. Malik squinted into the gloom and saw movement, a ripple in the undergrowth, too big to be the wind. Then came the smell, a sharp coppery tang that didn't belong in the cold. Blood. A flash of tawny fur darted between tree trunks. Malik caught only fragments, a glint of eyes, the curl of a lip over teeth. A wolf. No, more than one. They emerged slowly, their bodies lean and hungry, ribs visible beneath matted fur. 3 for shapes fanned out in a silent arc, their eyes locked on the bear. Malik's pulse thundered in his ears. The bear didn't retreat. It stood its ground, releasing a sound that was not quite a roar, low, rumbling, primal. The wolves hesitated, but they didn't back away. Malik's mind raced. If the wolves decided to attack, they wouldn't care who the easier target was. And right now, drenched, half-frozen, and unarmed, he was the easier target. Snow crunched behind him. He risked a glance, a narrow slope leading deeper into the forest. He could run. But the moment he shifted his weight, the largest wolf stepped forward, teeth bared, and Malik realized. If he moved now, the forest would erupt. And whatever happened next, he would be trapped in the middle of it. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Snowflakes drifted slowly, almost lazily, as if mocking the tension that coiled like a spring between predator and prey. The wolves had formed a crescent, their paws silent on the frost-hardened ground. Steam curled from their muzzles with every exhale, their eyes catching slivers of pale light. The bear shifted its stance, a subtle move, but Malik felt it like a ripple through the ground. One massive paw pressed forward into the snow, claws digging in. The low rumble in its chest deepened, the sound both warning and promise. The lead wolf stepped closer, head lowered, ears flat. Its tail flicked once. 2 others mirrored the motion, spreading out to cut off the bear's escape. But the bear didn't flinch. Malik stood frozen, every nerve screaming for him to move, yet knowing a single misstep could trigger the explosion. He was painfully aware of the fact that he was directly between the bear and the wolves' flanking line. Then the first lunge came. It was fast, a blur of fur and teeth. The bear met it with a swipe that cracked through the cold air like a breaking branch. The wolf tumbled back, yelping, snow scattering. Chaos broke. The wolves surged forward, their snarls ripping through the quiet forest. The bear reared up, a wall of muscle and fury, slamming down to meet them. Malik didn't think. He dove sideways, rolling behind a fallen log as claws tore into the snow where he'd been standing seconds before. From his hiding place, he watched the clash. The bear's roars, the wolves' quick, darting attacks, the flash of teeth and the thud of bodies hitting the ground. Snow churned under them, the white now streaked with shadow and heat. It was brutal, raw, and inevitable. But Malik knew one thing: if this fight didn't end soon, neither he nor the bear would see another sunrise. The forest had its own laws, harsh, ancient, and indifferent to the hearts pounding within it. Malik crouched behind the log, breath clouding in the cold air, watching the fight spiral toward its breaking point. The wolves circled faster now, no longer lunging recklessly. The bear's breath came in ragged bursts, steam rising from its fur. Both sides were tiring, yet neither would back down. Then from somewhere deep within the pines, a sound cut through the chaos. Not a roar, not a snarl, but the long haunting crack of ice shifting. It was enough to break the rhythm. The lead wolf's ears twitched toward it, just for a moment. The bear seized that moment. With a roar that shook loose snow from the branches, it lunged, striking the ground so hard the nearest wolf stumbled. That single misstep rippled through the pack. In 2 heartbeats, the wolves scattered, their shapes melting into the shadows between the trees. No howls, no final challenge, just silence returning to the woods. The bear didn't chase. It stood still, chest heaving, watching the place where its enemies had gone. Then it turned its head toward Malik. For an endless second, their eyes locked, one pair human, one wild. Malik couldn't explain what passed between them. Gratitude? Recognition? Or simply the mutual acknowledgement of two survivors who'd faced the same danger. The bear broke the stare first, lumbering back into the trees, its massive frame fading into the snowfall until there was no trace it had ever been there. Malik stayed still, listening to the forest reclaim its sounds, the soft patter of snow, the distant creak of ice. The fight was over. But the choice the forest had made, to let both man and bear walk away, was one Malik would carry for the rest of his life. And somewhere out there, he knew, the bear remembered too.